what I'm going to talk to you about is rising from the ashes and transforming your pain into your power. Have you ever been in a position, a dark place that you cannot even see a reason to live? Have you ever made so many mistakes that cost you so dearly because you trusted people and you didn't do your own due diligence and you found yourself in this horrendous, horrible space and you didn't really know how to get out of it? Have you ever found yourself in such self abuse, questioning self, not knowing if you can even trust your decisions? Have you ever wondered what would you do and how can you overcome this? Have you ever been in that dark of a space? Well, just to let you know, I have. And I am standing before you today as one of those who turned her ashes, the fire that had burned everything up, into abundance. I turned it into power. And today I'm going to talk to you about that. Did you know that almost 1 million people a year commit suicide? And that predominantly that is men over women in population around the world. I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me in 2013. I had been going through a lot in my life. I had made a lot of decisions. I was in the middle of a transformative experience. I had left another husband. I was trusting other people in my life, and I met a Bernie Madoff sociopath who wanted me to invest. I trusted. I didn't do my due diligence. I'm sitting in the bathtub, and I am realizing that all is lost and that this was a scheme and that I was never going to get the almost $300,000 back. Everything I had was gone, you see, because it wasn't just that I was facing financial ruin, but I had also, because of the investments and the promises that were made, I had also given away almost every single one of my belongings. If you can imagine, I did not even have a washcloth. I didn't have a set of sheets. I didn't have a lamp. I didn't have a blanket or anything to cover my body, much less a bed to lay on. I am staying in a home as a gift from a friend of mine, but I knew that that time was coming short. I'm sitting in the bathtub, which always was this wonderful place of solace for me, this beautiful, beautiful space of embracing and feeling the warmth of the water and enjoying being encapsulated in the feeling of the surrounding warmth. But this time I'm not at peace. I am finally awakening and realizing that what I have done to myself is that I put myself in the worst possible position that anyone can in life. I had lost everything. I was beginning to realize that everything was lies. I was beginning to acknowledge and accept and going through the grieving process for months, questioning myself, wondering, is this really true? Maybe there's hope. Maybe the guy really will come through. Maybe I will get my money back. Maybe he's not a liar. Maybe he's not a sociopath. I was at that juncture, everyone, where I realized it was a lie. I had lost everything and I had given away everything else. And here I was in Florida. I didn't have a home. I had the clothes. I had shoes. I had a little bit of jewelry. I had no home. I was homeless. And what I decided to do that day was to commit suicide. And when I decided to commit suicide, I felt this relief of the no more pressure. No more pressure to live, no more pressure to even have hope, no more pressure, the surrender of just letting go and realizing, yes, you have done this thing. So I came up with this plan of getting in touch and going to see the inmate that I was visiting to tell him bye without him knowing it. I was going to plan a trip to Dallas to tell my son and his family bye without them knowing it. And I was going to go visit my daughter the very next weekend to tell her bye without her knowing it. As I get myself dressed, I can feel the relief and the lack of pressure of not having to make that decision anymore. And as I'm backing out of the driveway of the garage where I was, knowing everything was about to change and I was going to have to move and I couldn't stay there much longer, and everything was piling in on top of me. As I was backing out of the driveway, my best friend texted me out of the blue and said, "I just wired your checking account $1,300. I have to tell you that I pulled back in the garage instead of leaving to go to a hotel to stay to let the inmate know that, in my own way of saying goodbye, I realized that it wasn't time for me to go." Have you ever been in the ashes? Have you ever had it so hard? Suicide is not the answer. And I'm here today to talk about how to take your pain and transform it into your power. In order to do that, I have to share with you that I had been playing with alchemy. I had been playing with techniques. I had been playing with custom ordering things from the universe and then realizing that those things came. But when it came to the very personal, intimate things that mattered the most to me, I was struggling because my mindset was off. Did you know that your mindset is the only thing that is out of alignment? And when I let go, when I decided in that bathtub in Florida, I'm just going to end it, there's no hope for me, I've gone as far as I can go in this lifetime, that is actually the most beautiful, sacred pain point that you can ever go through. When you're empty, when there's nothing left, that is when you start the rising from the ashes. That is when you start your transformation. It is surrendering, acknowledging the position that you have gotten yourself in, owning the fact that you have gotten yourself here, and that if you could put yourself in this horrible space, certainly you can lift yourself up out of it. I want to thank you for joining me today, because what we're ultimately talking about is that every single human being on this planet gets rained on. We go through rain, sleet, snow, hail, sunshine. We get it all. We're experiencing all of these dichotomies in this world. We are struggling sometimes to breathe the next breath. I know exactly what this is like. But guess how you use your pain for pleasure? Guess how you use it to own your power? We give our power away to individuals such as I did, hoping, trusting for something better, wanting to believe in humanity, but not really using our inner guidance system. What I have done is that I have realized that it is a beautiful space to be here and to be in this sacred space of life and death, and to be able to say, this does not identify me, nor does your pain identify you. I do not care what mistakes you make. I do not care how bad your life is. I don't care who you trusted. I don't care how you got where you got. I'm here to tell you that this is the point of transformation. This is where you can actually rise. And that is exactly what I decided to do. And then, oddly enough, both of my children called me within 10 minutes of me crying my eyes out, getting inside the condo and just wailing, going, "You won't let me go. You're showing me that you're going to take care of me. You're going to support me. There is a way out of this. I don't have to lose hope. I have to stand." Both of my children called me within 10 minutes and said, "I know exactly what you were about to do. Mom, please don't do that. Please don't go. We need you." I am so glad that I'm sitting here today, and that what I ended up doing was developing some techniques and some programs for myself that I ultimately use with every single client that I have. For you see, I'm an intuitive and I read people for a living. And that was one of my biggest points of self-abuse, was Who do you think you are? How can you help anybody when you've made such stupid decisions that you can't even save yourself? Well, guess what? I tuned into my abilities. I tuned into my senses. I tuned into the five senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and feeling. And I also tuned into the clairs that represent that. It is a beautiful space when you use whatever it is that has gone wrong to look at your life and say, that does not identify me. That is just one of my stories. For you see, as long as you are breathing, as long as you are living, you can create a new story. Your old stories, your perceived mistakes, which I think are my greatest accomplishments, to be able to sit before you today with a beautiful home, a Rolex watch, anything really that I want, because I overcame this and I realized that every single thing that I had unintentionally, spiritually set up, I could use for my good. So I started this journey of looking at what is the very first step that I can take that will help me today. Give me the ideas. I'm out of ideas. You see what I've done with my life, spirit, universe, God, however you want to frame it, higher self, spirit, guide me each day and show me how to overcome this once and for all. And not once since I went through this have I ever even been close to not having money, to not having a way out. And I have developed techniques and programs for my clients, and I'm offering you a free gift today where you can actually go and find out what your dominant sensory superpower is. You'll see that in the chat box. I want you to know that it doesn't really matter what you've done. It doesn't really matter what your story is. What matters is what you assign meaning to it, what you decide that means. Is this going to govern and control your life for the rest of your life? Or is this going to be one of those things that you use as the catalyst to stand up, take your power back from wherever you gave it away? I gave it away to a Bernie Madoff sociopath. And then when I took that back in and I forgave him and said, you do not identify me. Being homeless does not identify me. I am a miracle creator. And if to the degree, guys, because of the law of polarity, in everything there is an equal and an opposite, to the degree of how bad it is how good it is going to be. For I do not want you to lose hope. I do not want you to think of what you have actually gone through as a negative experience. It is only an opportunity, and it is a gift. Would you consider looking at your life today and looking at what you have caused, whether you were conscious or not, and saying, I'm not a victim of this. This is just one of my stories. I am going to choose today to stand up, forgive the other person, forgive myself, take my power back, and become a victor instead of a victim. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I appreciate you.